Hi, my name is Colleen Surratt, and I am the ESOL High School Point of Contact at GCA. And I'm here today to talk to you about what ESOL looks like at GCA. So the first question you ask yourself is, what is ESOL? We have so many letters here at GCA, sometimes it feels like an alphabet soup. I'm going to talk about two terms. One is ESOL, which stands for English to Speakers of Other Languages, but the other is EL. Our students who work with us, they are known as ELs, and this refers to English Learner. Now, you may have heard ELL in the past, English Language Learner, but the state now considers it more educationally appropriate to call a student who is receiving ESOL services an EL. And these are students for whom English is not their native language, and they need a little more support to be more comfortable. Currently, we have 18 active ELs. That means these are students who are receiving direct instruction in English language, and 7 monitored ELs, also known as ELMs. Students who test high enough to exit out of the program, we monitor them currently for 2 years, but starting next year for 4 years, just to verify that they're doing well in the program, they don't need some additional English language support. So once they exit, the idea is that they are now able to use the skills that they have learned to become more comfortable in the regular classroom. Active students receive over 275 minutes of direct English instruction provided by me in small groups. And pretty much all of the EL and ELM students are in my homeroom. There's one exception, but for the most part, the students are with me. So I handle their homeroom function as well as their ESOLs information. So how does a student become a part of ESOL? Well, in order to first qualify for our services, a student would have to take a test called the WAPT. This test is used across many states, and it tests the student in 4 areas of English language: speaking, listening, reading, and writing. So it looks at how well the student can handle both in their just everyday conversation with each other, but also in the academic setting. Once a student has become part of a program, they are tested in the spring with something called Access, which also looks at the same 4 areas, and many of you may have been tapped to provide Access testing. Anybody with some type of ESOL certification or training may be asked, if a student lives near you, to go work with that student at a library or some location. And basically what we're looking at is, do we see some growth? Where do we see deficiencies? How can we better serve these students? Sometimes you may notice that a student seems like they could be EL. They might say, English isn't my first language. This is really difficult for me. So we've come up with a new process that is different from what we were doing in the beginning of the year, where you can refer a student in IC. Now, we were doing it in SharePoint. We've just banded that. We're now doing it in IC. So how are students referred? Sorry, that got cut off a bit. Students are referred on the LEP tab in IC. So if you go to Campus Tools and you go to Student Information and then you go to Program Participation and LEP, this will come up with options, and over here, kind of hidden by my picture, is the EL Referral tab, and you click New Status and then fill in anything that is colored in red. It's very important that you give us as much information as possible so that we can best know which students we're looking for and how to serve them. Once you do that, you're all finished. We take over from there. Who should be referred? Well, any student who identifies themselves as having a native language other than English. So if someone says, well, when I was a kid I spoke Spanish, but now I don't, refer them to us. We may have already worked with them. We may have already identified whether or not they need service, but you can't hurt to refer a student who's already been referred. So always err on the side of caution. Of course, if you're concerned, you can also contact me, and my contact information is at the end of this. What if you're dealing with a situation where the child's language is fine, but then when you call the LC or the parent, they really don't seem to have a whole lot of English? We do have some policies in place for that. We ask that you refer the name of the limited English proficient families to SharePoint. So there's a tab on SharePoint in the, it's called the LEP Family Referral tab. And LEP stands for Limited English Proficient. So you need to go to SharePoint, go to Special Programs, and then EL. This tab has not quite been set up yet. We're still getting everything just the way we want it, but it will appear on the left, and we just need you to tell us who, like if a family says, well, I want my information in Spanish, it helps us to know who we're looking for. You might want a translator. Maybe you're having a meeting, or maybe you have a phone call, and boy, wouldn't it be nice if you could make sure everything was just right in the native language. There is a process for requesting a translator. It's on the same EL page as I just mentioned a moment ago in SharePoint. For informal written communication, if you just want to check and see if there's a letter you can send home, check transact.com. And you can set up your own account and browse through what they already have. Be sure that when you set up your account, select GCA as being located in Fulton County. I know that's kind of weird, but that's how Transact does it. So if you're not looking under Fulton County, you won't find GCA. Now, if you want a formal meeting, you want someone to be in the meeting with you or on a phone call, you'll use the translator request form in SharePoint. And with this email that brought you this flip training, you'll also find a document that will tell you a little bit more about that process. But basically, we're trying to support you however we can to make sure that our students are getting the information that they need. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. Now, we do have two kinds of plans. If you have an EL or an ELM in your class, you will receive two documents in an email, not this email that's coming. The first one's called the EL plan, and this is to help you with your daily lesson planning. So it tells you what level the student scored either on their Access or their WAP test, and what your EL student should be able to do at that proficiency level with support. And I cannot stress that enough. They are still going to need some help, and they may not quite be there. They may need to have you scaffold and stretch just a little bit to help them. But you could get a good idea of, for example, which students you could expect to write a couple paragraphs, and which student that you might need a graphic organizer with. The TPC stands for the Testing Participation Committee, and this committee is the group who's responsible for setting testing accommodations for each student. When you receive this email, you will have 48 hours to go to SharePoint and look at the document and then sign indicating you've received it. When you receive both of these documents, in that email you will also have a link to a Google survey. So you're actually going to be doing a Google survey for the EL plan and signing the TPC document, and these are legal documents that we're required to have. All right, what do you do if you have questions? Please contact me. My name is Colleen Surrett. I caution you to look at my last name. A lot of people can't find me because they try to put 2 R's in my last name. I guess I have 2 L's and 2 E's and 2 T's. Why not 2 R's, right? So you're welcome to email me. You're welcome to call me. I'm often at my extension. Our head of our program is Joy Taylor, so you can contact her that way. And once you get this email, you will have a link. So as soon as you finish this flip training, go to that link, click on it, and take the survey. That gives you credit for the flip training. When you get the email with the EL plan and TPC, that's when you'll go to the other link. So basically, whatever link is included in the email, that's what you need for that document. If you have any questions, please let me know. I look forward to working with you guys.